Hello and welcome to Attach Pass. My name is Ben and this is Beth.
Hi Ben.
How are we doing?
Not too bad. How are you
Good.
this week?
I'm very well, thank you. Before we kick down into a rundown of what we're going to be talking about, or sorry, should I say kick over into a rundown of what we're going to talk about, I just wanted to first off say a massive thank you to everybody who has watched the first episode. We really appreciate it, both of us.
Yes, very much so.
Been slowly seeing those numbers creep up, which was really quite cool to see. Once we broke that 100 view mark, I was like, I'm happy. It's done what it needs to do.
It was nice to see that.
So that was really cool. Second thing is we've taken a load of feedback that you guys have given us from everybody from our local scene and at Sanctuary Gaming Centre. And also there's been a couple of DMs and things like that on Twitter and that sort of stuff to basically just say, look, this is really cool. It's really good. Maybe do these little bits to help improve it. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'll do those bits. We'll go through that and we'll help improve it. So hopefully throughout this episode, you might be able to see some of those improvements. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, which it is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Oh, you've got out there.
I did it. If you are listening on a non-visual sort of thing, head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/DiceandDucks, and you'll be able to see all the Attach Pass stuff. If it becomes big enough, we'll just move it onto its own channel. But for now, there was no point really doing that at this point in time. But yes, so we're hopefully going to see some things come out of this episode that you guys have sort of gone, hey, I said to do that. Most of these things we'd already thought about.
Yes,
It was just a case of trying to make sure that we had the time and the space to be able to do that sort of thing. So yeah, basically, huge thank you to everybody from both me and Beth. From there, you're going to kick us off with our first sort of improvement. What are we talking about today, Beth?
So today we're going to cover the Knoxville and Melbourne regionals that happened this weekend. Have a quick rundown of the meta, the top 8, and our opinions on the two events. Obviously, Melbourne was not streamed, so we did not get to see any action from that event, sadly. Which it would have been nice to see some of that.
Yep.
Considering there were some interesting games what I saw coming out through Arcanine when I was looking on there and looking on Pokestats to see what decks people were playing.
Yep.
Would have been lovely to see Brett Tomlinson win the event.
Yeah, rather than come second like he did at Liverpool. Sorry, dude.
Then we're going to move on to the Cup, what we both attended on the weekend. Which we'll leave that to a bit later. We'll talk about the good stuff first. And then finally, we'll run over Dortmund and what we think could come out this weekend and what we think could happen.
Yeah, so full disclosure, we're recording this on Monday.
Yes, we are.
It's probably going to be released Wednesday, did we say?
Yes, Wednesday.
Yeah, so that gives me a day to edit it, basically. So we are literally hot off the press, so to speak, when we're talking about these things, you know. And I'm sure other podcasts and things like that are doing the same thing right now.
Yes, definitely.
Or in a couple of hours, or already have done it. One of those three things. So, we're recording this on the Monday. Some things might develop over the week.
Oh, yes.
You never know. By Wednesday, the Dortmund meta might be completely reforged.
Oh, yeah.
But we're just going off what we sort of know.
Yeah, I think Dortmund meta has definitely going to have changed up considering some of the surprises that we saw this weekend.
Yeah. Well, should we start with that? We're going to talk about Melbourne first, right?
Yes, we're going to start with Melbourne.
Go ahead.
As I've already mentioned, Brett Tomlinson took the event, and it was great to see him actually win one instead of coming second. Obviously, back-to-back regionals is very tough to do, especially when you're travelling internationally as well. Yeah. He played in Liverpool, which is in the UK, and went all the way back to his home country in Australia and took down Melbourne. Great to see 2 finals in a row, and according to him, it now puts him number 1 globally with 985 championship points.
985? You don't need that many. He needs, 500 from Australia?
Less than that, 250.
What? Oh.
Because they don't have an IC. So
of course.
They don't have an IC, so they knock down their requirements. And according to him, he's done that with 3 cup finishes.
That's crazy.
2 first places and an 8th.
And then maxed out challenges.
Challenges.
I remember us being in the car actually on the way to this cup. We had a 2-hour drive. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we were talking about this, and you were sat there mathing it out as we were driving, and you were like, he's maxed out challenges and only done 3 cup finishes? What is this nonsense?
Yeah, I was there thinking, how has he got to this many championship points when he tweeted it out? And I was there like, okay, so he's got his 6 best finishers, calculated how many points that was, and at the end it came back that there was 90 points difference. Yep. Including his first and eighth that he spoke about.
That's kind of crazy.
And the fact that he's got to nearly 1,000 points for the season, he's still got 2 ICs he can attend.
Yep.
He can increase his regional finishes and still be first overall by the end of the year.
That's crazy.
He has to be going for Worlds win this year.
He's got to be. He's got to be.
And I think if he keeps playing the way he is, he could well and truly at least top 4 Worlds.
Unless Giratina bricks.
Yes.
So Brett played Giratina in Liverpool. He's played Giratina pretty much.
No, he's been between Giratina and Guardi.
And Guardi, yeah.
There have been his 2 decks this season with what his points are. He's played Giratina for the past 2 weekends. Done really well, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But rotation could harm him. We've got to wait and see what happens there. But he's done incredible from July to now to say he's on nearly 1,000 CP.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's crazy. And I'm sat here on 30.
I'm sat here on 52, so...
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll improve that in Utrecht. But we'll get to that point
later.
Next week, probably, when we talk about Utrecht. So, Melbourne, are you... how many players were in day 2?
Day 2 was 57 players.
Yeah, it's not a lot, is it?
It's not, but they only had 531 Masters.
Okay, okay. So it's kind of a small regional. I say small. 531 is still a hell of a number, right? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But compared to the 1,500 we saw at Liverpool and the 2,500 we saw at Charlotte,
yes,
kind of crazy.
To say that it's gone from 2 of the biggest regionals in the world to ever happen to a 531 player event in Australia, which... from what I know, is a quite big regional for Australia. Australia are known for small regionals. They don't have the size and grandeur that you see in America. Mm-hmm. Even the double the size ones, what you see in Europe. So it's still an amazing number. And Australia obviously get the players that come from Japan.
Yeah, they do.
And the Asian countries that come over because typically they do the OCIC. This year we sadly haven't got an OCIC. So a lot of them came for Melbourne by the looks of it, considering our second place finisher is from Japan.
Ah, that's awesome. So I've got, hopefully you'll see it on screen if you're watching.
Fingers crossed.
I've got a breakdown of the day 2 statistics here. I don't know whether you've pulled that up on your side as well.
Yes, I've got those up on my side as well.
We see the Cloth Electrode had representation in day 2.
Somehow.
One deck, but it's still one more than I expected.
Yes.
And then we had Snorlax, Stall, Inteleon, Urshifu, Arceus, Lugia also only represented once.
Yes.
The Arceus is interesting, coming off the back of Liverpool's performance with the Rayquaza VMAX that we saw a couple of people run. I think people are still finding their feet with that deck.
I think they are, but it's nice to see that Arceus is making a bit of a resurgence again, considering that it's gone a long time without being near the top tables. Yep. Obviously, there's a few people who represent in the UK and further afield that get top 32s regularly, but it's not been seen any higher for quite a while. Yep. And it's nice to see some resurgence again back into the top 32. I've just pulled up that list. It's the Regigigas list, what came out of Charlotte.
Right, okay.
But they've added a Leafeon in.
Yeah, so the Leafeon is interesting, right? It's a bit of tech for the Zard.
A bit of tech,
and a bit of tech for the Moon, I guess, because it just one-shots the Moon.
Oh, it does.
Which is kind of nice. That Leafeon should be appearing on screen. Oh, I'm just making so much work for myself right now. Right, future Ben, Godspeed, my dude. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to edit in a voiceover of me going, past Ben sucks, or something like that here, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, that was the Regigigas list.
Yes.
Interesting. And we see a couple of Goldengos making day 2, which is kind of nice.
Yes.
I love the Chi String. I really do. When Paradox Rift, Obsidian. No. When did it come out? Obsidian
it came
Flames.
out Paradox Rift with Goldengo.
Was it Paradox Rift?
Paradox Rift was Goldengo.
That set feels like so long ago.
I mean, it was long ago. We got that back in November. It is now February.
It's weird, right? Like, I beg for them to slow down with the releases. And then I'm like, come on, release something soon. And we've got Temporal Forces coming soon.
We've got Temporal Forces next month.
And we just had Paldean Fates. But Paldean Fates doesn't feel like a real set, which is why my brain's like, Goldengo feels like it's been out forever. It's because it has. But it's still the most recent set.
Yes.
Anyway, it's nice to see the Chi String. When that came out, I was really excited to build it.
Oh, I know you were.
Mew Genesect, 4 of those places.
Not shocked.
Roaring Moon, 6. Lost Box, 6.
Yep.
Charizard making 7. And then my favourite, Gardevoir, in second place with 11.
Yeah, we know how much you love your Gardevoir, Ben.
It's really cool. Even though I'm bad at it, it's really cool. And then 15 for Tina, rocking up 27% of the day 2. That's kind of crazy.
Day one, Tina was at 18%.
Wow.
Of day one.
Okay.
And they had a conversion rate that was 25.5%.
That's a pretty good conversion rate.
Which is insane considering the only other deck to hit 25% is God of War.
Yeah.
So them two decks had a pretty solid conversion rate this time round.
They did.
Roaring Moon was up there too with a 20%, and Charizard fell right off and only had 10% convert, but they did make up 20% of day one meta.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, to be fair, it's the same with Giratina, right? When it makes so many appearances, you are bound to get those that brick and those that succeed.
Yes.
So if you have like a 30% meta share in something, you might only get 10 of those that make it to day 2.
Yep.
Because the rest of them have all bricked. But it's still kind of crazy that, you know, it makes sense, right? It's like the more you put into something, the more you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And throw enough stuff at the wall, some of it will stick eventually, is what I'm getting at.
I mean, my biggest shock is that we had no Miraidon Flaffy in day 2.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Crazy that Miraidon Flaffy can go and drop so high heavily, considering that 8% of day 1 meta.
Yeah, not a single one made it to day 2.
Not a single one made it to day 2.
Must have had some rough matchups and a rough sort. I mean, the reason we're surprised at Miraidon is because it's so consistent. Like, it sets up every time. Yes, you're relying on the generators, but it is so unbelievably consistent every single time.
It is always there. It is always there or thereabout within the top tables. It's not made top 8 for quite a while.
Yep.
I think we're going back to pre-Paradox Rift.
Yeah, it was JW, wasn't it? At the
JW won.
NAIC?
No. LAIC was won by
LAIC.
a Miraidon, which was just after Paradox Rift. But since then, I don't think Miraidon has made a top 8.
No, it's kind of struggled, hasn't it?
It has, and I think that's because it's solidified in the meta, and we know what to expect a bit more. Tina's obviously feasting right now because it's the end of a format. Tina always does well at the end of a format.
Right. I will hang on to this saying, Tina is Schrodinger's deck. Right.
It is.
That's my thing. I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks. It is simultaneously the BDIF and the WDIF. It's the best deck in format, worst deck in format, both times.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yes.
Start and end of format, godlike. Like, after rotation, it's going to be insane. Mid-rotation, when people start figuring bits out, it's going to probably teeter off, is my prediction.
Teeter off, yeah. I think that is another reason why it has taken till now for us to actually see Tina take down a regional. Because, obviously, this time last year, Lugia was the best deck in format. Lugia was feasting on everything. Lugia could feast on Giratinas if it's set up right.
Yep.
This time round, we haven't got Lugia there to feast. Lugia's just dropped completely. As you can see, it's only making up one deck of day 2 at Melbourne.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It is stupid how much it has dropped off compared to last year. But Tina is in a point where we are at the end of a format, and it has been the end of a format for a while. We are waiting for those new cards that the meta stabilised. Tina can just feast because it knows how to play it.
Yeah.
You know how to play that list, you can feast on the format.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens after rotation. I mean, if we take a look at the top 8 for Melbourne, 3 of those were Tina.
Yes, 3 were Tina.
And then, what do we have? 1 lost box.
1 lost box, 2 God of War, and a Lugia.
Yeah.
And a Zard.
Yeah. So, I mean, Tina making up 3 out of 8 is kind of expected.
Kind of expected, especially at this point.
The double Guardy is kind of nice to see from my own personal perspective.
The shock for me is definitely a Lugia. I did not expect a Lugia finishing that high.
Well, usually Miraidon keeps it in check, right?
Yeah.
But maybe because there wasn't so much performance of Miraidon, there was literally none in day 2.
No, there was none in day 2.
There is nothing to keep it in check unless there's a lost box running a hands.
The lost box did run a hands. It was a Paradox box.
Right, okay. It was a Paradox box, not like a Sable Zard or anything.
It was not a Sable Zard. It was more of a Paradox box. So that probably is why we might have not seen it any further, because I'm not sure what face to get up together in top 8, because obviously we didn't get to see that information.
Yep.
We'd have to go to RK9 to be able to see that.
Or maybe Pokédata, yeah. I'm already on my way to Pokédata.
Oh, you're on to Pokédata.
Yeah, I'm already here. Here we go.
Here we go.
So we had first seed Brett versus 8th seed Siu Chun-Li.
Yep. 2 Tinas.
2 Tinas playing against each other. Then Christian playing against Tim.
Okay, so...
what was that matchup?
Christian was playing Tina, and Tim was playing the Paradox box.
Interesting. Okay, so Natalie and Nigel then.
Natalie and Nigel, that was a Gardevoir versus Lugia.
Right, okay. And then Haru versus Jetano.
Which was Lugia versus Charizard.
Lugia versus Charizard?
Not Lugia. Gardevoir versus Charizard.
God, okay. I was going to say,
Yep.
who was playing the Lugia?
Lugia was Nigel.
Nigel got beat by the Gardevoir.
Yep.
So Natalie made it to top 4.
Which, not surprising, you're trading 2 for 1 a lot of the time,
Yeah.
so it's a list you should be beating. You can hit 280 quite easily to take out Lugias, and if they don't set up right, you're just feasting on everything else that they've got.
I mean, the thing is, it still ran 3 Snorlax, right? So would it not just play the Snorlax as the attackers?
It should do, but...
That's my question there is... Obviously, we didn't get to see any of these top 8 matches, and we weren't there at that point, but from a mid-player's perspective, because I forgot to say this at the top of the game, this is a mid-podcast by mid-players.
Yes.
There you go. But yeah, surely you would be able to just use those 1 prizes against them and just hit back with those Snorlaxes. You know, if you take that 1 prize,
yes,
you can build up there. Okay, you're not one-shotting stuff.
At that point, though, you're just using your listing effects.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you just counter-catching up a Lugia and killing it with a Curlier. With a Gardevoir, and then you're really struggling from a Lugia's point of view. Yeah, maybe it is a really bad matchup. Interesting. Okay, so what do we sort of think and feel about the representation day 2? Top 8.
Representation top 8. I think it's very, apart from the Lugia, I'd say it's very representative of what was seen for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Definitely a lot of interesting matchups in the top 8 as we've seen. But I'd definitely say having a high percentage of Tina in there, 2 Gardevoirs and a Charizard, which were the top 3 decks of the day.
Yep.
Those 3 being in there is not surprising, considering it only takes 1 to have a hot run and get there.
Yeah, it does. Okay, shall we take a quick look at the top 2 decks from this format?
Yes, take a look at the top 2.
I'm going to cry because I don't get to look at the Gardevoir deck on screen. But let's run through. Do you want to run through Haru?
I'll run through Haru, you can run through Brett.
Yeah, go ahead. Go through Haru first. Let's go second place. This is the list that appeared.
So it was 3 Charmander from Paldean Fates. So it was the reprint he used.
Yeah.
Which, understandable, because he probably had to come over to Australia and pick up all his cards in Australia. Easiest to get hold of those 3 compared to getting hold of Obsidian Flames.
Yep.
There was 1 Obsidian Flames Charmander, 1 Obsidian Flames Charmeleon, 3 Charizard EXs.
Yeah, of course.
2 Pidgeys with Core Family.
Yeah.
So the 151, the best one you should use.
It's pretty standard now, isn't it?
It's pretty standard, pretty easy to feast on if you're a Lost Box, but you should ideally be getting off the board second turn, so they shouldn't have a chance to be able to do that. 2 Pidgeot EXs, 1 Radiant Charizard, which has made a resurgence recently, and I think that is because of the Snorlax stall. Yeah,
the Radiant Zard's a really interesting one.
It is, yes.
Being able to just one-shot a lot of things in format, particularly if we run a choice belt. It's a really nice little secondary attacker, and you're already getting fire energy. Why would you not put it in play?
Yeah, why not put it in play, especially when you can just reduce how much you need with every prize that they take against you. Then a Rotom, obviously made popular in Azul's list.
Yep.
Lumineon V.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes, I saw that and thought...
Coming back into it, right?
Yes, I did not expect to be seeing a Lumineon V in this list. It's just an easy feast for Miraidon if they get it out.
It gives you an interesting opportunity if you can't get the Pidgeot EX out to be able to find that boss or that Arven.
Yes, or if you need a boss and something else in the same turn, you can play it then. However, I think it's a bit of a liability at times to have that, and you need to play it really late in the game when you know you can protect it better.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, there is a collapse stadium in this list to help get rid of it. But, okay, so Lumineon, and then what else?
Mew, Manaphy, and Jirachi, standard.
Yep, definitely support.
Then the standard line of trainers of Iono, it's 4 Iono, 3 Boss, 2 Arven. Which
4 Iono is interesting.
4 Iono is interesting, but I can understand why, because the disruption at the moment is key to winning, especially when Giratina is running as rampant as it is.
Yeah, it's really nice to get rid of those hand sizes, isn't it?
Yes, especially when you're seeing a lot of 15 plus hand sizes.
Which is why I guess maybe the Lumineon's in there to find the Arven, because you only run 2 of them.
Yes. Finding an Arven would be very key. Or it could be to find the one Professor's Research that they're running. Potentially. Because typically you're running more research and less Iono, but obviously if you're wanting to run more Iono, you drop your research count.
Yeah, so 4 Iono, 3 boss. Pretty standard.
2 Arven, 1 research. Bit low for the counts, but can be understandable when you look at what else is in the list and
Yep.
what they've increased. 4 Rare Candy, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VIP.
Natural.
You kind of have to run those, especially when you're wanting to get a turn 2 Pidgeot and a turn 2 Charizard off. If you don't have 4 Rare Candy to access in that deck, you are basically saying, I'm not finding those and getting those set up turn 2.
Yep.
2 Nest, 2 Super Rod. Again, pretty standard from what I've seen in the Charizard lists I've looked at.
Yep.
2 Lost Vacuum.
Yeah, that's my favourite. I run double vacuum my Zard. I think it's really potent, and it can help get rid of that path. It can get rid of a Bravery Charm. It can do all sorts of goodness.
It is a very nice bit of tech adding an extra vacuum, but they've dropped their counter catch account.
Yeah. Well, they're running 4 boss, or 3 boss.
3 boss, so yeah.
I don't know. Going 5 gusting effects is a bit interesting. I think maybe it's too many. I don't know.
It might also be that obviously he came from Japan. He might have some cards what he still had from last year that he's using, and he's not been able to get the exact number of everything that he wanted to be able to run ready for the event, so he's just had to cobble together what he could.
Kind of worked out for him.
It's worked out really well considering he finished second. It gives him a nice 7k to go home with and keep his Worlds Invite case on, considering Japan have a different qualification format to the rest of us.
They do.
1 level ball, standard.
Yep.
1 rope. Which is interesting that it's a rope and not a switch.
The rope kind of makes sense. The rope allows you to checkmate.
Yeah.
Because if you have a Zard in the active, right, and they only have one thing on bench, you have a Pidgeot, you can rope into the Pidgeot and retreat for free.
Yeah.
So, the rope makes a lot of sense.
The rope makes a lot of sense, but then also considering we don't know how much store was on the meta, because we don't have a full meta breakdown. So it could have been could be where he took his Radiant Charizard from.
Yeah.
Instead of running 2 switches, he run 1 Radiant Charizard.
Potentially.
Forest Seal Stone, standard. 1 Choice Belt, 1 Artisan, and 1 Collapsed.
Yeah, the Choice Belt helps fix the mass with the Radiant Zard into
It
the
does,
Tina.
yeah.
And any V-Star, actually, just one-shots every V-Star, which is super nice. The Artisan makes sense to be able to get that set up nice and early. Collapse Stadium, if you can, later on to get rid of the Luminion, because it's a massive prize liability.
It is.
The 1 Seal Stone's pretty standard too. So a relatively standard Zard list.
And then for people who keep count, we're at 7 energy, which, again, pretty standard for a Zard list. You typically run between 6 and 8.
Yep.
7 is a nice middle ground, I think. In case you do prize one, you can still set up your Charizards and your Radiant Charizard without too much hassle.
Yeah, and the double rod helps put those energy back in the deck so that they can make sure that they can get all of those numbers back to where they want them to be. All right, let's have a look at Brett's list. So in the Pokemon slot, it's a pretty standard Giratina deck. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same deck he played at Liverpool.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Oh, no, actually, it does look like it's changed.
Oh.
He came second at Liverpool, didn't he?
He did, yes.
So, sorry. Please hold for 1 second while I just literally compare the lists. Yeah, there's a couple of changes. Interesting.
Ooh.
We'll get to those in a minute. Let me run through the list. It'll be next to me on screen of Brett's at Melbourne. 4 Comfy, 3 Tina V, 3 Tina V Star,
Yep.
a Sableye, Cram, and a Radiant Greninja. 1-1-1 on those extra Pokemon. Pretty standard, maybe.
Yeah.
Like some people tend to go 2 Cram, some people tend to go 2 Sableye to add to those bits of consistency.
I think the 2 Sableye has dropped off dramatically since the Jirachi, and that became popularised after Paradox Rift became legal.
Yep.
It hurt a lot of your Sableye plays that especially if you were setting up with your Tina, with the putting damage on with your Radiant Greninjas, you couldn't clean up, or if you were putting damage on with your Cramorant early, you couldn't clean up with the Sableye then.
Yep.
So
why not just hit them with a Tina?
Yeah.
Like it does just as much. To make up for that, we've got 13 energy being played. So 4 Jet, 4 Psychic, 3 Grass, 2 Water. 2 Water rather than 3 Water is an interesting one.
Yeah.
But you're not relying on the Greninja to be able to do all the work. You are literally shredding and lost impacting with Tina V, which kind of makes sense, right?
It makes sense, especially considering a lot of Tina's bad matchups aren't around anymore.
Yep.
Or they have their ways to be able to counter the bad matchups with Path to the Peak.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of trainers, we've got 4 Colrus, 2 Boss, 2 Roxanne, 4 Mirage Gate, 4 Vip, 4 Nest, which is standard, 4 Switch Cart, which are the only switches in the deck, no rope, interesting, 2 Gear, 2 Rod, 2 Counter Catcher, and then 4 Path to the Peak. Going up to that 4 count is super nice. Super nice.
Let me guess, he only played 3 at Liverpool.
No, he still played 4.
Oh, he still played 4?
Yeah, so there was only what looks like a couple of card difference. So he played 2 Sableye in Liverpool, as opposed to 1.
That can make sense.
He also played an extra water in Liverpool as opposed to 1. But this time, to add consistency to the deck, he didn't play any Pokegear in Liverpool. He plays 2 in Melbourne.
So he's dropped those 2 to increase his Pokegear.
Yes, which I guess increases the consistency. One of the big things that, can hurt you as a Lost Zone player, whether it's Tina or Single Prize or Sablezard or whatever, is not hitting those Colruses, but being able to look at basically 8 cards when you include the 1 for the turn.
Yeah.
Just to be able to try and find a Colrus is kind of huge.
Yeah, the Colruses is definitely in the Tina matchup more than your Single Prizer, considering you've got a lot more switches in your Single Prizer. So find those Colruses is definitely make or break for the deck, especially for getting off your V-Star power.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting, right? Like, it's nice to see that he's adapted. He's sort of thought, he's gone away, he's thought about this, he's gone, right, do you know what? I don't need the 2 Sableye, and I don't need that energy for the Greninja because I'm relying on it maybe too much, or I just have to be really careful when I'm Lost Zoning stuff that I don't Lost Zone in energy.
Yeah.
Or just when you do have to Lost Zone, maybe you've got a Colrus and a Water Energy off Flower Selecting. You have to get rid of that Water Energy.
Yep.
You just go, right, I'm just not going to play with Greninja this game. I'm just going to use it to draw. Absolutely fine.
Considering, though, that a lot of lists currently are still running 3 water, your opponent will still be playing around that you could get off a Greninja play.
Whack the Manaphy down, take up bench space.
And it can harm your opponent that way, that they will then think that you are running 3, potentially for your entire set of 3 games, thinking, okay, they could get that Greninja off, I need to take up this bench space with a Manaphy.
Yeah.
Then, especially in a Gardevoir matchup, they're then taking up another space with their Jirachi. They've then only got 4 spaces to play with.
Yeah, it kind of does hurt a little bit when that sort of comes to play. And there's nothing more appealing as a Guardy player than when your opponent Lost Zone their Greninja. It's like, oh, I'm okay. Manaphy, get out of here. It's fine.
Until you realise that you've already benched your Manaphy.
Well, yeah, that happens sometimes. That does happen sometimes. All right, let's go ahead and look over to Knoxville. So Knoxville over in the US had 1,367 players, so 1,367 players. Nice, good showing. Limitless has only provided us so far with the top 8 decks, which is absolutely fine for us.
However, PokeStats does have more information for the day too, because obviously they update a lot more regularly, especially when you've got the creator there.
Yeah, he literally mid-lunch was fixing part of the website, which was quite exciting. Between rounds. They've got all the stats there on pokedata.ovh, but it doesn't quite give me the lists that I wanted to be able to see, which is fine. It doesn't matter. But let's look through, I guess, let's just focus on the top 8 then of Knoxville. Hey guys, quick side note here. Limitless has updated their data since we recorded this podcast, so the data that you're going to see on screen is from the representation of all day 2, not just the top 8. I hope you can bear with us. So we had interesting representation here.
Yes, it was very spread.
Yeah, so we had 1 Entei Valiant, 1 Lost Zone box, which we'll talk about in a bit, 2 Moon, 2 Tina, and 2 Gardevoir in the top 8.
I mean, considering that the day 2 meta for Knoxville had Moon as the number 1 deck at 21% for the day.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Considering that in day 1 it was a 14% deck.
Yeah.
It completely skyrocketed up in percentages, and Tina dropped off.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
To say we always thought it was going to be a bit of a gatekeeper, it now seems to be acting as though it's an actual real deck.
It's a real boy. Yeah, it's when it first sort of came out, we had this conversation. I remember, yes. And I was like, this is probably going to be a gatekeeper deck. I don't think it's going to take home anything. In the first sort of states,
yes,
I think it's most likely a gatekeeper. And I think we were of a similar opinion in that
case.
Yes.
Like,
you're gonna basically, for those who aren't aware, a gatekeeper deck is the same as like this is a term that I don't know whether it's used in Pokemon, but I pulled it over from Warhammer. A gatekeeper list or gatekeeper army is something that you will know you're going to have to beat to be able to win the tournament.
Yes,
but it won't win tournaments, if that makes sense. It basically stands outside the top 8 and goes, to get in there, you've got to go past me. I'm not going in. but you got to get past me. That's basically
Yes.
what a gatekeeper is, a gatekeeper list.
But now it's finally made the top 8 and is seeming as though it could be a real contender, especially going into Dortmund, and I think there's Vancouver as another regional before.
Yeah, I mean we've seen some interesting topics. Like we saw in the last 3 tournaments, we've seen it. 23rd is the highest place in Moon list at Melbourne. 3rd and 7th in Knoxville.
Yep.
And then 9th in Liverpool.
Oh, so it was on the bubble.
It was on the bubble, just out. We did see a 7th place back at Charlotte. So 1 top 8 there.
Was that Ross?
That was Ross.
I'm not
And
surprised.
then-
Ross has kind of popularised the deck in the format that it is at the moment. He's kind of been the creator of this list and taken it from where it was as more of a gatekeeper, as we were thinking, and made it a real contender. And I think that when you're an astrophysicist creating this list, you cannot say that it's not going to be a contender, because for someone to have the brains that he does, to be able to put together the lists that he does, he definitely has a smart opinions and smart choices for his deck lists.
Yeah, definitely. Before that, just as a side note, 23rd of December, Champions League in Kyoto, it finished 2nd.
Oh.
So, like, it's seen relative success.
Yes.
But not seen super thriving success,
No.
which I'm really hoping it does, because it's the other deck that I want to play. So I'm like slowly sort of getting my things together to be able to play Moon.
Yes.
So I'm back on the hunt for the SARs that I sold when the set released.
Yes, but considering the prices have dropped now, I think you're very happy for the extra money in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've got Miraidon deck that I need to shift to be able to pay for it. Maybe, I don't know. I might get rid of the Miraidon. I might not yet. So yeah, the top 8 was interesting. We did watch a couple of things on stream over the course of Knoxville as well.
Yes, we did.
A couple of sneaky little. Don't know whether it was intentional. I'm not gonna there was a match.
Yes.
Where there was a grass energy involved.
Oh, yes.
And it might have gone in the hand. It might have gone in the deck. It was from the hand. Everybody knew it was from the hand. Where it was placed on the field was very interesting. There was just a whole load of little bits of drama.
There was. That was in day 1. So
Yes.
it was near the end of day 1. So it was day 2 contenders that are doing this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be down to the stress and potentially sometimes even the thought of, am I going to day 2?
Yeah.
Especially with the money that's involved right now.
Oh, there's some crazy prize money. I mean, 10 grand for winning is kind of crazy, isn't it?
I mean, 1 grand for finishing top 32 is kind of crazy too.
Yeah, I mean, that helps pay for flights and stuff like that, doesn't it?
It does. It definitely means that
kinda
you're closer to breaking even on some of these events.
Yeah, I mean, for people that view it as a career, they absolutely need that money, right? But for people like myself, and I assume yourself,
Yes.
and a lot of the players that I sort of know and interact with, for them it's like, I top 32, that's a nice little bit of pocket money. Not a, I need this to buy food kind of thing.
No, it's more of a, that means I can go to this region I didn't think I was going to be able to go to. I can go here that I didn't think I was going to be able to go to.
Or I can go and buy those Heart Gold Soul Silver energies that I didn't think I was going to be able to buy.
Look, we don't need to keep bringing up those Heart Gold Soul Silver
they're really
energies.
expensive.
I know they're expensive.
Very pretty, very expensive. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Moon performs going forward.
Yes.
It did finish 7th and 3rd.
It also got a 10th place finish with JW Creewall as well.
Okay, JW coming in with the Moon too. I like it.
And then there was also a 20th and a 22nd as well.
That's
so
pretty damn good showing.
And that's not the only top 32 lists there was with Moon. Moon had 6 showings in top 32.
And that's not including the decks that are Lost Box that include a Moon, a Paradox Box.
That is not including the Paradox boxes either.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Or say Blizzard plus Moon. Interesting. Yeah, it's got a lot of potential. I mean, anything that's got an instant kill button on a card is kind of crazy. The fact that you can just gouge on and literally knock anything in format out is kind of really nutty.
It's nutty and it's great into your Snorlax stalls.
Yeah, it's kind of really. I mean, yeah, you can just knock yourself out and make the prize trades really interesting.
Yes.
Genuinely, so you can knock yourself out, kill one. Sorry, you can kill one. They counter catch a one. You get it back in the active. Then you kill a second one with gouging it, and then all of a sudden you're back on even prizes. Mm-hmm. And you basically just play that game of chicken. And you go, right, well, you're never taking a prize without me telling you can take a prize. So that's quite interesting.
And that is why I think, maybe for this event, the best performing Snorlax store was 57th.
Yeah, I mean, that's That's still pretty good.
It's pretty good, but I think considering how high we've had Moon this event, I think it did a bit of gatekeeping, which is nice to see. A little bit of gatekeeping towards Control, since Control seems to have been gatekeeping a lot of decks right now, and it's been kind of annoying.
Yeah, except going back to Liverpool, Lax did finish 4th.
Yes, Lax did finish 4th.
And had a 5% conversion rate with 8 decks, whereas Moon had a 8% conversion rate with 13. But I guess it just maybe goes to show what that extra week of practice and playing does in being able to sort of find those matchups and exploit them a little bit and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, refining the matchup has definitely been a big thing, and I think considering the resurgence of Control a little bit, considering it's been a while since there's been a good Control deck that's been out there that hasn't come through Sander.
Yep.
The Control being there and performing as it has been kind of crazy to see, and it's nice to see that it's getting back under control a little bit. Maybe in the form of a gatekeepy deck like we thought, but under control more.
Speaking of Control, right, I want to touch on I think it's second places lists. Okay, so we saw this a couple of times over the course of the weekend at Knoxville and Shroom. But Aiden's list, right, it's on screen now. I just want to highlight the Marwile and how much of an auto win this is into certain matchups. This card is the bane of my existence, simultaneously the best thing ever. But it does go to show how degenerate Lost Box is as a format of a deck that it can just put anything in at any point. So, Control, we've seen the Snorlax stall, obviously. We've seen, trying to make you deck out. Lost Box went, oh, I like that. That's a nice little bit of action you've got there. Let me just sift through the archives a second. It pulled out Lost Origin and went, oh, this Marwile. Oh, I guess it'll actually be over this side. It'll be like, this Marwile, right here, I can do it too. I can make you deck out.
Yes, but the Marwile was getting played back in the UIC last year, so...
But for a different reason.
Yes, for a different reason.
The Tempting Trap was useful, but it wasn't intended to lock. It was intended to buff damage.
Yes.
I believe. Yes. Which we did see again on stream. It came into fruition into the Guardy. But Marwile into Guardy is horrific, because Guardy just doesn't run any switches. It's really greedy. It runs 0 switches. The only thing it might do to save itself is run a Churros scenario, a one-of.
A one-of that you can only use once unless you power pad, which a lot of lists have dropped their power pad.
Yeah, but some are coming back. It's weird. It's a weird sort of conglomerate pot. Can we just play with 68 cards? I'd be so much happier.
You just want a side deck.
I do, absolutely. So the Marwile basically reads, during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. During your next turn, the defending Pokemon takes 90 more damage from attacks. That's kind of crazy. The retreat bit is the most important bit in the current state of the meta, right? And we saw it I think Jamal was playing on stream with the Moon against Aiden. And Aiden just sort of went, I'm just going to... Jamal runs 2 switches in his Roaring Moon deck. A switch cart and an escape rope.
Yes.
Turn 1, game 3 this is.
Yes, it was game 3.
Yeah, because Aiden held on to that Marwile.
Yeah, he made it so that the Marwile was never seen in play. Jamal probably assumed that
It was in game 1. Jamal just didn't read it.
Oh, yeah.
He just went, I'll kill it.
Yeah, he just knocked it out.
But yeah, he sort of kept hold of it game 2.
Yes, did.
And then he waited for the perfect opportunity, and Jamal went Ultra Ball, switch cart, and rope into finding something else. And I watched this happen.
I watched it.
And I was like... Oh, my dude. Oh, my sweet summer child. I mean, you've learnt, right? You're never doing it again.
Oh, he's learnt he's never doing it again. And Aiden learnt something else later in the game, later in the regional top cut that I think we'll touch on later.
Yes. But yeah, he just basically put them all out and went, right, I'm just going to tempt and trap you every single turn because you can't retreat out of this Greninja.
So the way that game ended was draw. Trap, draw, trap, because he constantly was looking and getting closer and closer to that deck out.
Yeah.
He then found Judge to be able to put cards back into his deck.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop what Aiden could do.
There was 25 minutes left on time, game 3, top 4.
Yes, I think it was top 8.
Was it top 8 match?
It was top 8.
Was that top 8?
Yes, it was top 8. There was
Yes, it was.
because we saw Aiden, he went off stream for his top 4, and then he came back for the finals.
Yeah.
He just judged, but couldn't get rid of the tempting trap more while, which meant that Aiden could just sit there still drawing, doing exactly as he was before, until he decked out.
Yep. And it was always going to happen. The Morwile is going to catch people off guard. Now I think people are going to build around it a little bit more.
I think it means that more lists are going to add a few more switches in.
Yep.
But considering that people should have been anyways with how popular Snorlax has been, I think it just shows that if you're greedy in this meta, you're going to get punished, whether that be Snorlax control, a Lost Box running Morwile, anything running Morwile, because it needs one Psychic.
One colourless.
One colourless. So
it's even worse.
It's even worse. It can be ran in any deck.
It's so bad.
To be able to do it.
It's so good.
Like, could you imagine a Guardy running that?
It'd be dumb. In the mirror, it'd just win. If they haven't got one, you just win the game.
Yeah.
But speaking of like the Guardy matchup, there is ways around it.
There is ways around
you
it.
only ever bench attackers.
Yes.
Or things you can attack with so that you can eventually knock it out. Because unlike Snorlax, they don't run 1,012 pennies.
No.
They also don't run an Erica's Invitation.
Nope.
They do run an Echoing Horn.
Not always. Aiden's list did not run Echoing Horn.
Yeah, Aiden's list didn't, but Lost Box has that space for that Echoing Horn.
Yes, because if you look at the round 15 game that was played, which was Azul running, I think, about 59 cards of what Aiden was running.
Yep.
He ran an Echoing Horn.
Yep.
So you had to be very careful with what you played anywhere in that matchup.
Yeah, and so the safest thing for anything that isn't a purple Pokemon in Gardevoir is in your hand or in the deck.
In the deck is probably safer in case you run into a Snorlax.
Yeah, yes, there is that. So it's kind of interesting. The Morwile has highlighted to me that Lost Box literally can just pick up the flavor of the month and play it. All it has to do is put this in and go, ha, I'm now control.
The one thing I will say, though, is that this weekend we've seen that Kyogre is the best Lost Box in format that isn't Tina.
Kyogre's incredible.
As we've had many people probably championing for a while, we've had a little resurgence in Kyogre and the Kyogre build, which is quite nice to see. It's nice to see that potentially it could finish out the meta for a few more months, for the next 6 weeks, like that it's legal, and then it says I've done my thing and disappears, and we see what's next for the flavour of Lost Box.
Yeah, I guess we sort of see it off into the wind along with the Dragonite, which is going to be interesting.
Yes.
Speaking of which, let's run through Aiden's top 2 list really quickly. Do you want me to do this one and you tackle top list?
Yeah, you do that one.
Sick. Okay, so I will not talk about Gardevoir because I will be here for hours. Maybe we'll do a Guardy-specific episode at some point. Anyway, so Aiden's top 2 Lost Box deck is 4 Comfy, 1 Sableye, 1 Cram, 1 Greninja, 1 Kyogre, 1 Dragonite, 1 Pidgeot V, 1 Marwile, 1 Manaphy, 1 Jirachi. It's also running 4 Water, 3 Psychic, 3 Lightning. And then it's got 4 Colress, 1 Boss, 1 Roxanne, 4 Gate, 4 Vip, 4 Switch Cart, 3 Nest, 3 Super Rod, 2 Rope, 1 Switch, 1 Energy Recycler, 1 Heavy Ball, 1 Counter Catcher, 1 Lost Vacuum, 1 Pokegear, 1 Pal Pad, 2 Forest Sealstone, and 2 Pokestop. That is a lot of different trainers.
Is a lot of trainers, but I am not surprised by it at all, considering Lost Box always seems to run a high trainer count regardless of what it is.
I mean, it's really good, right? But
it's really good.
The 1 Roxanne, I kind of think I want to see it become 2. Double Roxanne is kind of scary.
Double Roxanne is scary, but if you're playing the Kyogre, you can take 3 prize cards in 1 turn.
Yeah.
You don't need to be, and your opponent's down to 3. You don't really need to be
worried about. I suppose it's making sure that you manage that properly. That's the big thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Like your energy in Lost Box, particularly with the Kyogre build, is essential. Like you need to have 7 energy ready to go. 8 energy if you want to max out.
It's typically why they will run either a 3-2 split on the Rod and Recycler or a 3-1 split on the Rod and Recycler.
Yeah.
As we can see, Aiden's running the 3-1.
Yeah, the Rod gives you the ability to put back in the Kyogre if you have to get rid of it early for whatever reason, or the Dragon, whatever you need, you can just put back in Pokemon or energy. It doesn't matter. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, this deck has always had a little soft spot in my heart, and it's making me consider going back there.
Right.
But we'll have to wait and see. I've got a few other lists I want to test out and have a play with first. But
that's fair. Or do you want to run through Ryan's winning list at the Knoxville Regional?
I will run through Ryan's winning list from Knoxville Regional.
It'll appear. I mean, you're looking at me at the moment, camera, but it will appear on Beth's left side, so it'll be like this side of the screen, the opposite. Just read it, Beth. It'll turn up.
So there is 4 teleportation burst rolls.
Yep.
2 Curlier with refinement. 1 of 3. Yep. 3.
Oh.
1 of Mirage Step.
Yep.
2 God of War EX. 2 Baby Guardies. 1 Screamtail.
Yep.
1 Zacian. 1 Mew. 1 Radiant Greninja. A Manaphy and a Girachi.
Not using Cresselia. Good man. I think it's a bait. It might have cut back to me at this point. I don't know what I've decided to do. I think it's a bait. I think the amount of people that are just going to bench Jirachi because they see a God of War, and it's the same thing with the Manaphy and the Water Energy and the Greninja, right? It's the exact same thing, but with God of War. They put Jirachi down. You go, okay, that's nice of you.
I think with how many lists at the moment have cut it, it's becoming less common that they're going to bench Jirachi and they're just going to go for the Manaphy because they know that the Screamtail's there.
Yep.
So it could be a surprise inclusion for some lists.
So it's weird. The meta game is obviously continuously moving. Some weeks you won't put Cresselia in. Next week it might be beneficial to put it in because people won't be benching that Jirachi, so you can get them.
It's exactly like why we've seen Mew drop off, and that is because it won last week. A lot of people are there chucking them Drapions in, chucking the Spiritombs in, just there to be prepared in case they do come up against that Mew. Yep, people who play Mew, they'll just drop back off the Mew, and then next week in Dortmund, we could see a resurgence of Mew again.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So, they're the Pokemon from the list.
There it is.
Hit me with everything else.
4 Iono, 1 Research, 1 Boss, 1 Worker, 4 Battle VIP Pass, 4 Level Ball, 3 Ultra, 3 Rare Candy, 2 Fog, 2 Super Rod, 2 Countercatcher, a Vacuum, an Artisan, and a Collapsed. Pretty standard.
Yep.
Nothing shocking there on the trainers.
Nope.
Ben would love that Research to become another Worker, but
I just love double Worker. The Research makes a lot of sense.
The Research does.
It really does. I think I'm going to go back to playing it and just run the 1 Worker.
Yes.
Particularly because the next tournament I'm going to be playing has Moonlit Hill viable for it, so I'm going to have that extra bump anyway.
Yes.
But the double Worker I played at Liverpool actually came in clutch against Mew in game 1 because they didn't expect it, so that was kind of nice.
No, I think it's a bit more expected now because a lot of people have gone to running a double Worker instead of a single Worker.
Yeah.
So it's not as surprising when you do, say, Worker for a second time in the game when you're not playing a Pal Pad. And then the energy is standard as every Guardy plays 10 Psychic and 2 Reversal. If you're not playing that, I'd be worried.
No, we see some of the switches at the moment with 9 Psychic, 3 Reversal.
Yes, but not playing at least 2 is...
Oh, yeah, no, you have to play 2 Reversal.
Yes.
It's just whether that 12th energy spot is either a 10th Psychic or a 3rd Reversal.
Yes.
Is pretty much where we're seeing the meta at the moment.
Yes.
And people value the 3rd Reversal. But I'm very aware that Guardy's going to rotate. And I don't know if I want to get comfortable on using that 3rd Reversal too much when I'm going to be using Drifloon. But we'll talk about that another day.
The one thing I will touch on from the final that we saw Ryan do was double attach his Reversal to 1 Guardy.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so good. It's like people forget. So his Reversal energy... it says, as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides colourless energy. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, and this card is attached to an evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box... to an evolution that doesn't have a rule box, this card provides every energy type, but only provides 3 energy at a time.
Yes.
So what it does is it gives you... It stops you from hitting with something that's like, you get 20 damage for each energy you've got. Well, you'd only ever get 60 because it only provides every energy, but only 3.
Yes.
But so what this does, it doesn't say like some special energies. You can only have 1 of this at a time.
Like the Luminous Energy, which is how I think they decided to print that card to be able to gatekeep Lugia a bit.
Yep.
Because if they didn't do that, we'd be back in the same space we were last year, Lugia running rampant in the meta.
Yeah. and just being able to power up everything and everywhere.
Yes.
With every bit of luminous energy it could possibly want. So you could choose literally any attacker and just play with it. But reversal's really, really, really nice here. Being able to double attach luminous if you're behind, that's 6 energy off a turn attached last turn and a turn attached this turn. Just swing it when you need to. Attack with something else in the active is really, really nice. We did also see the Scream Tail being used, which was kind of really nice to see.
Yes, we did.
Unfortunately for Aiden, we did see a double prize concession, or a DPC. Is it called
double prize card penalty.
Oh yeah,
which
it's silly. It's a DPL.
Yes, it is a DPL. But very understandable why he saw 2 extra cards off his prize cards that he shouldn't have seen.
Yep.
Because he said he declared knockout with his Pidgeot V. It was not knockout because the stadium that was in play belonged to Ryan and not himself.
Yep.
If it belonged to himself and he had the bump in hand, he would have been fine.
Yep.
But unfortunately, he played it as if it was his stadium when it was Ryan's, and we knew it was Ryan's stadium because Aiden only runs Pokestops.
Yep.
It was a collapsed in play.
Yep. It was also in a different coloured sleeve,
that too.
which kind of massively helps. But yeah, the Pidgeot V is something that we never see as an attacker.
No.
Very, very strange. But it was a situation where the Zacian was in play. It had like 100 HP left, and Pidgeot would have essentially secured the game here.
Yes.
For Aiden and potentially the series, honestly. But the very specific wording on Pidgeot V: if you have a stadium in play. This attack does 80 more damage. Unlike like the Roaring Moon, which just says discard a stadium in play, not discard your stadium in play. So that is applicable to both players, not just one.
Yes, and obviously it was not picked up until after Aiden had already seen the 2 prize cards.
Yep.
The judges spent a decent chunk of time just clarifying and checking the ruling, which props to them. They did exactly as they should. Make sure that they were reading the card as it was meant to be read, and as it was read by the head judge in the event, which it did. So Aiden was rightly awarded a dual prize penalty, and I don't think he will ever forget what Pidgeot V says.
I absolutely agree with you there. I don't think that Pidgeot V is going to be making any attacks anytime soon unless it's absolutely necessary just to make sure. I mean, it doesn't rotate out until next rotation anyway, so there is still play for it. And in control decks, it is a nice little shuffle back in and keep yourself a live card.
I mean, when is control even attacking?
It shouldn't be, but it'd be interesting to see out of the next couple of sets before rotation what Pokemon do with printing stuff for control. Whether they're going to continue to print things that enable control, or whether they're going to go away from that and potentially print things that prevent control.
There is a few cards coming that are going to be used in control decks, which we will touch on in another episode when we do talk about our look forward to the next set.
Yep.
But control is also losing a good few things as well. It's losing its I think it loses Team Yell's Clear.
Yeah.
It definitely loses Echoing Horn. I know that for certain.
I like Echoing Horn.
Which, sad. It's going to be gone from Lost Box as well. But there is definitely a good few bits that Control will be losing and will change how they have to play. It loses the Crabominable if they play the Crab.
Yep.
So they have to find another attacker to discard with, which I've seen lists that have found it. So I don't think they're going to be too damaged in the long run. But there's definitely a few bits that will change it up.
I mean, they don't use Path, but any decks that use Path lose Path. It obviously loses the one VIP that it runs. Sydney goes away. Peoria goes away.
Oh.
Team Yellow's Cheer. No, Team Yellow's Cheer's an F, so that sticks around.
Oh, Team Yellow's Cheer's an F.
Yeah. Echoing Horn obviously disappears. Yep. Cross Receiver, or the decks that we've been seeing playing that, they go away. Chromatic disappears.
Yes.
The list's kind of... Does Trek and Shoes go?
No,
Trek and Shoes is an F.
Here to stay.
Egg Incubator sticks around. Yeah, there's just a couple of bits that we're missing here and there, which is interesting to see. But we'll see what rotation does for the meta. We are still 2 months away from that at this point.
Yes. And I definitely think there will be some interesting decks. And I think from what I've seen online, there'll be a few people trying to get limitless pages for some cards that have yet to be seen in Day 2 lists.
Really?
Yes.
Like, what are we thinking?
I can't remember what the card is off the top of my head, but someone's telling people to chuck a 1 of in their deck just to get it into a day 2 list before it rotates.
Oh, it's the Orbeetle. It's the
Yes.
stage 2 Orbeetle with the reversal energy. It's got an attack that says it's 3 colorless, and it's you use this attack, and you can, for every energy type attached to this Pokemon, which technically would be
3. With
3,
reversal.
yeah. Search your deck for a stage 2 Pokemon and put it on your bench.
Which is dumb.
Yeah, but it stops Devo. It's like Devo this now, but it's also a stage 2 itself. So you'd be relying on going behind on prizes, getting that in place, getting a rare candy in it up turn 2 to be able to go, triple Zard. Oh, they can accelerate to themselves.
Just chuck it in as a 1-off. They don't have to do anything.
In fact, you can't do triple Zard because Zard says when you play this Pokemon from your hand, not, and it has to be an evolution, not just spawn it. So there's people wanting the Orbeetle, which I'm like, yep, that's fair. It's kind of cool.
Yep, there's plenty of cards there's another few cards that are probably trainer cards that have yet to see any actual play in the meta because they're just not good.
There is some garbage out there. There is some what we call filler or bulk, but it's what it is. It happens. The sets need to be padded out. They can't all be gold, can they?
No.
When they're printed.
I mean, as
unfortunately.
much as you love your gold, Ben.
I love gold. I'm like Smorg. It's kind of cool. That was our sort of roundup, I guess, of Knoxville and Melbourne. Next on the agenda is looking ahead to Dortmund, right?
No, our cup.
Oh, God, yeah. See,
I know
I was trying to go over that.
I know you want to block out our cup, Ben. I know neither of us had a good showing that day.
Yeah. So me and Beth. Saturday night
at like 10:30.
I was on Twitter. X. And I saw a tweet by Clarkius on Matthew Clark, who comes and plays at all of our cups.
He does, yes.
He loves our venue. He's a really, really cool guy. I saw a tweet saying, what should I play tomorrow? Should I be playing Sablezard or should I be playing Rayquaza VMAX and Arceus Pile? And I voted the Rayquaza because I was like, lol, why not play that?
I voted for the same thing because funny deck.
Yeah, it's funny. Funny deck is funny. It's actually really cool.
I mean, he won the cup with it, so...
We'll get to that in a minute. So I was like, do you know what? Where is it? Oh, Beanie Games up in Middlesbrough. I was like, fine. Absolutely fine. How far is that? 2 hours. Oh, I can't do this on my own. Beth, you want to do a cup tomorrow?
I was there like, where is this cup?
I'm like, Middlesbrough, and you're like, fine. It's a $5. It was a $5.
It was a $5, but it's also adding to my list of reasons why I now drive to Middlesbrough.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just for your partner, but also for Pokemon cups that are a $5, apparently. We got in the car. I did the driving up.
Yes,
we
you
had
did.
conversations. I took Gardy, you took Maridon.
I did take Maridon.
You were umming and ahhing about taking Lost Box.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 1, I got paired into Intel Urshifu, which is Gardy's worst nightmare. It was horrific. I did the gentlemanly thing and played it out, but I should have just scooped and gone and got a hot dog.
You love those hot dogs.
That was so cheap.
I'm sure Ben will insert the photo here of him with his 2 hot dogs that I posted.
The thing is, I've got the power. Yeah, I'm just going to edit myself in. Great. For those of you listening and not watching, imagine a picture of a man with 2 hot dogs held akimbo and a displeased look on his face.
I mean, you could also just go and look on my Twitter.
Yeah.
The photo was posted there, so you could get a visual representation instead of actually having to picture it.
Twitter links are in the show notes below the stream or the video or whatever. I played Intel Urshifu game 1. It was horrific. I did not like that game. Nothing against the player, just the game state was horrific. What was your game 1?
My game 1 was Goldengo, and that was my best game of the day.
This was Tattooed Fat Man, right?
It was
On
Tattooed
Twitter.
Fat Man, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I played into him. Game 1 went very well. He could not set up at all, and I got my iron hands off.
Yeah, we love
which
to
is
see
what we want to see with any deck that's running iron hands, really.
We want to see an amp you very much. Sorry, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Well, I got Ampy very much off, but he had nothing else out, so it was a scoop. Go game 2.
Yep, fair play.
And then
He 2-0'd you after that point, didn't he?
He 2-0'd me after that point.
Oh no.
He 2-0'd me, and it was, to be fair, game 3 was very close.
Yep.
I misplayed a little bit. I shouldn't have got greedy and gone for my Iron Hands to take out his one lonesome gimme ghoul. I got greedy.
Yeah.
Should have not gone for the Iron Hands. Should have gone for the Raikou, and then I would have won that game because he would have had to delay setting up his Goldengos and delayed finding his energy.
You'd have been able to keep the tempo up.
Well, I kept tempo. It was just that
Right.
he went ahead first and took the first prizes.
Sag. Very
Which,
sag.
If I'd not got greedy and tried to take 2 prizes to keep my to keep it 2-2-2-2.
To keep your mapping on point.
Yep, keep my mapping on point.
Of course.
It then meant that I was on the back foot. I then kept pace with him. Came down to the last 2 prizes, and if he didn't have the superior in hand, it was mine. If he had superior energy retrieval in hand, it was his.
Yeah.
He had superior energy retrieval,
Yep.
so that was game. Fair enough. It's how it runs, how it goes sometimes.
So you actually got to play game 1. I didn't. I basically just had the bye, but a loss, not a win. And then game 2, we played against each other.
Yes, we did. We drove 2 hours to play against each other.
Yeah, we did. Guardy versus Miraidon is Guardy's not worst nightmare because that's Intel Ishifu. It's probably like its 3rd worst nightmare.
It's a bad one for you if I can get the Iron Hands off.
It's ridiculously bad. However,
Ben, how about you share with the people what happened with my gens?
So, for context, Beth runs like 17 like electric, right? 17 electric energy. In fact, do you know what? Here's the deck list.
Good, sharing my spice way, aren't you?
No, it's not really spicy.
I know it's not.
This is. I might omit a couple of things now. Here's that. I need you to send me this deck list.
I've sent it you.
Oh yeah, I fell asleep since then. Beth's deck list runs 17 electric energy. The generators usually are absolute fire. They hit so consistently.
Every time. I miss like 1 or 2 a day normally.
Yeah, in our game, first gen game 1 whiff. Second gen you got 1. Third gen you got 1. No, you got 2 in the third
2
gen.
on the 3rd gen.
And then you didn't get to the 4th gen because I just beat you.
Because I didn't get my first gen off.
Yeah. And then game 2 was whiff gen 1.
Whiff.
Then whiff. Then
hit 1.
And then hit 2.
Then hit 2.
But it was too late at that point.
Yeah.
Because I basically all I did was just use Screamtail to just hit everything. And Bothia Zapdos into the active, kept it sort of sat there. Made you either have to commit to that.
Remember, half of my turns in that second game was draw, pass, draw, pass.
Yep.
Draw, pass.
I had 3 Iono in hand. I was not going to use a single. When you, as a Miraidon player, a draw passing, I'm not giving you anything.
I know you're not.
Absolutely not. So there was no holds bar. I did manage to take that out 2-0.
You did, yes.
Which was, to be fair, you didn't have the best showing. You did brick a little bit.
I bricked hard.
I tend to be able. I was actually able to play the game, which was fun.
When you brick as a Miraidon, there is no drawing out of it unless you get to your Professor's Research.
Yeah. And then moved on to game 3. You got the bye?
I got the bye.
And you got to play a kid?
I got to play a kid
There
playing...
was a junior that had a bye as well.
I got to play a junior playing Roaring Moon.
Roaring Moon.
2-0'd him.
You love to see it. And then I got to play against Clarkius, or Matt Clark. Game 1, he absolutely handed my tushy to me.
That's putting it lightly.
Game 2, because I didn't respect the Delphox.
No, you didn't.
I forgot he ran it, to be honest with you. I didn't want to add yet another deck to my brain to have to remember. Game 2, we ran a bit longer, and I had a much better chance to set up. Was able to weaken off the Rayquaza and things like that with the Screamtail, and eventually able to take a 2-3-1 prize line, I think it was, or a 2-3-2, something like that.
Yeah.
To close out that game, and then game 3 went very much Matt's way.
But at this point, you did have poor Shelby and your little cheerleader in your corner.
He was cheering me on. I had prized double reversal game 3. So my only opportunity, which genuinely would have helped, I don't think it would win me the game.
No.
I think it would have helped me.
It would have helped you probably keep pace better than you did.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance. I think I took like 2, maybe 3 prize cards when Matt had taken all 6. It might have put me down to 1 and helped me keep pace, which might have got into his head. It would have unlocked me certain bits in my prizes, but it's just unfortunate it happens.
Yes, it does.
And Matt outplayed me and went on to win the event ultimately.
He did. As much as he was there saying that people don't want him to win when he's playing Arc Rayquaza.
He just loves Arc, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, you've seen his tattoo.
Yes, absolutely. He's gorgeous as well. And then game 4, I played against Sablezard plus Moon. Went to 3 games.
I played against game 4. I played against a mirror.
You were playing Miraidon Mirror, weren't you? On the table next to it.
Right.
In fact, you were following me around, and I was following you around.
I was going to say we were following each other around all day.
On the tables. It was kind of funny. So I managed to. It went to game 3. I didn't really set up game 1, so I scooped. Then I took 2 back to back, which was kind of nice. This was the game where we had 6 minutes left. I had 6 prizes to take. Mm-hmm. And I had a Baby Guardy set up. He had nothing in hand. I had multiple Iono waiting to go. I just didn't use them. It was draw, attack, draw, attack, draw, attack, until it got down to me 2 prizes left. And it was his turn, 20 seconds. He ended up being turn 0. And I'm like, I've got game. Because I've got this Guardy that you can't knock out in the active. Mm-hmm. I've got this one on the bench just in case you do knock it out. Mm-hmm. I'm taking those prizes, mate. And he's like, we'll play it out. I'm like, absolutely. Let's play it out. Let's do it. So we did. Had some fun. Played some games. Managed to take those out, which was kind of cool.
Yep.
And yourself?
Got 2-0'd, whiffed all my generators again.
Oh,
Honestly,
17 energy. How do you whiff?
Because one of my hands that I researched into was energy. Energy. Energy.
Actually,
energy.
our game, you had research plus 5 energy in one hand, which is kind of mental, right?
Yeah.
Statistically, I'm not sure it's supposed to be that heavy on energy, but
No.
It's what it is. It worked. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then game 5, I played against Zard. I hate playing against Zard. I brick every single time into Zard.
I played a Sablezard with Moon.
Yep. Was it Steve?
No.
No, okay. Different one.
No, it wasn't Steve.
I played Steve. He's a good guy. Very good guy.
But, yeah, I was just sat there with my inability to set everything up because, again, whiffing the generators.
Oh, no.
As always.
Oh, Beth. This is why I didn't. This is why I stopped playing Miraidon.
They ran hot at Liverpool when I needed them. We go to a cup and they're just like, nah, we used everything all up last week.
Yeah, you haven't charged us. Yeah. Maybe it's time to put the Silenes in. keep using gens all the time.
Not yet.
So yeah, I ended up losing that game to Zard. I always seem to just lose to Zard. It's not that I don't know how to play the matchup. It's just that my deck just turns around and goes, the dragon's scary. And all my rolls are like, I'm hiding. The dragon's really scary. And then you look at me who's sat there going, come on, I'll give you a cookie. You can have a cookie. Like, you don't have any cookies, and I'm like, you're right, but please just come out and play the game.
No, you had hot dogs instead.
I had hot dogs instead of cookies. So yeah, that was me. I finished 2-3.
1-4.
Yeah, it wasn't great for us, was it?
No, it wasn't great. And after that showing, I was there like, I should have taken Kyogre Box.
Yeah, are you going back to Kyogre Box?
I'm going back to Kyogre
before
Box.
It rotates.
Yes.
And then you're gonna be like, what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my idea of what I'm doing after rotation.
Mhm. Okay. I've got many ideas.
I mean, I've got many ideas. I'm currently working on rotation decks.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've not got any big events between now and rotation. I've only got cups, and I've got my decks that I can play to my cups.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
May as well just do a little bit of focus onto rotation decks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be looking at the Drifloon Guardy toolbox. I think it's going to be quite an interesting deck to play. But also, I am looking forward to the Temporal Forces releases of the Future Box and the Ancient Box. I think they're going to be quite cool.
Yep, and I think we'll do a deep dive into those after you get back from Utrecht.
Yeah, we're only a couple of weeks away from Utrecht here. So this week, obviously, we've been talking about regionals and stuff. Mm-hmm. Next week, we'll do a summary of Dortmund.
Which we still need to do our few predictions
we'll do our predictions for shortly. And we'll probably talk about, I don't know, we'll find something else to talk about.
Yeah, we'll find we've got a few bits we can talk about. We just we'd need to get Ben ready for Utrecht first before we discuss rotation, because he can't be distracted by rotation just yet.
I absolutely. So for those of you that care, not that anybody does, I'm taking Guardy to Utrecht. I've decided. I've committed. It's the furthest in advance I think I've ever chosen a deck.
I think it is, yeah.
I chose it basically when I chose it for Liverpool. I said I'm playing it at Utrecht.
Yes,
absolutely.
you did.
So we're playing it at Utrecht. We're going to play Guardi. We're going to basically, not this week because I have to do a load of work here, but next week onwards we're going to be absolutely smashing out some of the test games.
Yes, we will be.
We're going to be practicing quite a bit between ourselves and other members of the community as well, just to try and get me used to matchups.
Yep.
I'm going to beg people to hit me with Zard repeatedly just so I know exactly how to beat it. Which is horrific because I'm going to hate that day.
You know I will happily hit you with Zard much as you need it.
It's going to be like a Rocky training montage of me just getting continuously beaten by Zard until that one game where I beat it, and then I just beat it forever after that.
Yep.
So yeah, there is that, which will be happening. And then after that point, then we'll look at probably focusing the podcast a bit more on the upcoming rotation and the new set for Temporal Forces, because there's a month between Utrecht finishing and rotation
EUIC
happening with the EUIC. I guess it's also going to be talking about us getting prepped for EUIC, because I think we're both going to try and get tickets, aren't we?
Yes, we're both going to try and get tickets, so we'll try and get a decent representation of us down in EUIC.
Yep, let's see if I can start 501 again. That'd be great. Right, so predictions then. Dortmund coming up this weekend.
Yes, Dortmund's this weekend.
Interesting tournament.
Definitely interesting.
I think we should tit for tat. I think we should play tennis.
Okay.
We should probably choose two things. Are we going decks or cards? Decks?
I think decks.
Okay, so we'll choose 2 decks each. If I choose a deck, you can't then choose it, likewise and so forth. And we'll choose the 2 that we think are going to be most represented and most successful.
Yeah.
What do we do 2 sets of 2, or what do we do?
Do most represented as one, and then most successful as another.
1 deck for each.
1 deck for each.
Oh no. Okay. Should we roll to see who gets to choose first? High roll. What did I roll?
You go
4.
4.
Oh, it's dead average.
I got 3.
Oh, okay. I go first.
You go first.
Right. I'm gonna start with the most represented deck. I'm gonna say Giratina.
Okay. I can understand why you're saying Giratina.
Yep.
And I think that this weekend we haven't got enough time for people to turn around and make too many changes to their decks.
Sure.
And I think people have locked in.
Yep.
And I think Charizard's going to be their biggest representation.
Okie dokie. Day 1 rep.
Day
Charizard.
1 rep,
Okie dokie. I think it's going to be Tina.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Then I will give you the opportunity, because I got to choose the first bit.
Yep.
You can choose what you think the most successful deck. What do you think is going to win the tournament?
I think it is going to be a single prize lost box of some format.
Okie dokie.
Mm-hmm. I think potentially it will most likely be Kyogre, since that is the one that a lot of people have been hyping up as being the best form of Lost Box at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this weekend showed that.
Right.
Sablezard's been very popular, but I think Kyogre is where a lot of people are going to go, just because they've seen that Sablezard hasn't had the best showing since Stuttgart. And after Stuttgart, it kind of fell off in its performances, just because a lot of decks decided to figured it out and figured out how to beat it.
Yep.
So a lot of people were pushing Sablezard as the second best one to Kyogre Lost Box. And I think if you can play a Lost Box and you can play Sablezard, you can easily switch to Kyogre.
Okie dokie. So you think single prize Lost Box, most likely Kyogre is going to win it. This is kind of difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my heart's telling me Guardi again.
Your heart always tells you
My
Guardi
brain's
again.
telling me, don't we just love Mew over this side of the water?
We do love Mew over this side
It's
of the
had
water.
2 regionals, Melbourne and Knoxville,
Where it was down.
It hasn't seen play and received appreciation. Do I think Ethan is going to be able to take it home? Because he's going to Dortmund.
You think Ethan can take it? Is going to take it home?
Do you know what? I'm going to put my faith in the man with the fantastic coats. I'm going to say, I'm going to step further. I'm going to say Mew VMAX is going to take out Dortmund.
Yep.
I'm going to say Ethan Wild is going to be piloting that Mew VMAX.
Oh, I mean, he top 8'd at Stuttgart with Mew VMAX.
Yep.
He didn't do as well at Liverpool. He got top 100 at Liverpool, I think.
Yep.
So he's a strong player. He can pilot Mew VMAX, and we know that. But the fact that you are that confident...
I am putting my faith in you, Ethan. Well, you won't have listened to this before you've gone, but you might listen to it when you get back. I had put my faith in you, and you betrayed... No, I'm joking. I reckon Mew VMAX is going to win it. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping
It's Ethan
and I'm
Wild.
believing Ethan Wild's going to take it home with his Mew VMAX.
Oh, so you are going strong.
Yeah.
You're going deep
Yep,
and
yep.
predicting
Let's
exactly
go.
who.
I don't want Mew VMAX to win, just as a clarity. I don't. I hate the deck. I think it should have rotated out 4 years ago before it was printed. But I have a feeling that it's just good. It's just good. Like, it's just consistent. It does what it needs to do. It can pretty much one-shot anything in format, providing you don't use a DTE. It's just consistent. It's just good.
Especially if he plays the version what he played to Stuttgart and he has the Luxray in there.
Yeah, the Luxray is such a good little bit of tech. It absolutely ruined me at Liverpool.
The Luxray made you cry.
Yeah, it was horrific. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mew VMAX, and I'm going to double down as a little bonus and say Ethan's going to take it home.
Yeah, I'm not going to double down and say who's going to pilot the Lost Box, because there is too many decent people who can play a Lost Box that could take it down. But we'll wait and see, and we'll review next week.
Yep. So to recap, mostly so that I can edit this easier, I think Tina's going to be the most representative, with Mew VMAX taking out the win. Yep. And you think?
I think that Zard will be the most represented, and a single prize Kyogre Lost Box will take down the win.
Interesting. Okie dokie. Well, I guess we'll see exactly who's going to win what and where and when.
Yes.
That's going to be interesting. Also, I've got a little bonus thing that I want to do at the end of this episode.
Ooh, a little bonus.
And I didn't actually tell you about it. Isn't that exciting?
Even I'm surprised about this one.
Yeah. So, first off, we are going to be producing other content on the channel for Pokemon and trading card games. So, you guys probably haven't seen, but I'm going to move my laptop. Look, there's some sleeves that are kicking around over here. When we were at Beanie Games, I decided to pick up some sleeves that we don't stock here at Sanctuary from different suppliers, just to be able to test them out. So I'm going to do a detailed video about how they play, how they shuffle, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be exciting. That's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, if you've stayed this long, whether you're listening on the podcast, on Spotify, or watching on YouTube, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to head over to YouTube. I want you to like the video, and I want you to comment Paldean Fates in the comments, because when am I going to do this? When the booster bundles are released, we're going to be giving away 2 booster bundles.
Oh, first giveaway.
Yep, we're going to do it episode 2 straight away. The winner, it'll be randomly selected. What's the booster bundle date? But booster bundle release date. I think it's the 23rd of Feb. Yeah, it is the 23rd of Feb. So we will pull the winner on the 23rd of Feb.
Yes.
Comment on this video, Paldean Fates, and you will have an opportunity to also comment on next video, Paldean Fates.
And then they'll be out?
That's the 8th. Yeah, and then at that point, you'll have those 2 videos to be able to comment. So Paldean Fates, like the video that you comment on, and you'll be entered into a chance to be able to win 2 booster bundles.
2 booster bundles.
Yeah,
for
we're
going to
give away 2. Yep, it's like 50 quid, and it's like the same as an ETB.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, 2 of you will be able to, or 1 of you will be able to receive 12 packs basically of booster bundle stuff. And also, I want to do a little bit of content about Paldean Fates booster bundles when we get them.
Yes, when we get them in, definitely some content.
I think we should absolutely do a little draft between us. Not draft, a little bit of a sealed deck build.
Sealed deck building.
So you can win and stuff. Yes. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would be.
And an extra little bit of content for you guys at home. So yeah, that is, remember, like this video. Head over to YouTube if you are listening on Spotify.
Or Apple Podcasts.
Like the video. And then comment Paldean Fates. You can also include other stuff in the comment. You can be like, you guys suck, or you guys are great, or you guys are mid, or whatever you want to do. And yeah, we're going to be doing that giveaway on the 23rd of Feb, which is pretty exciting.
Yes.
So yeah, we've sort of covered everything.
That's everything.
Wow. I don't know how long this has been, but it feels like it's been an age. I think it's probably been about an hour now, hasn't it?
I think it probably has been about an hour
Which is good, because this is pretty natural conversation for us to both have.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much for joining me here for the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ben.
Thank you very much, everybody who's listening or watching at home. I hope you like the improvements that we've done to the podcast.
Yes.
That's Beth. I'm Ben. We've been Attached Pass. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Sick.